All right, well, hello and welcome to our 2025 Vex IQ kickoff for Mix and Match. I am so excited to be with you guys. This is such a fun meeting because basically what we get to do is we get to start from ground zero, assuming that we have just seen the game, and we are going to dive through everything that you need to know to figure out what kind of robot you want to build and how to get started building it. So if you've been building all summer, you're like me and you've been like hardcore and you've been working at it and you know this game, you've already built 3, 4, 5, 10 robots. That's awesome. We're going to talk about a lot of different designs that are going to help you improve the robots that you've already built. If you're like, Ben, I literally haven't even seen the game yet, I don't even know what Mix and Match is, then that's fine too. We're actually going to start out, we're going to cover a little bit of the basics of how the game works, because there's some really important dynamics I want to make sure that you guys are aware of, and then we're going to dive into it. I will tell you, when this game first came out, it was, like May, right? This game comes out in May. I'll watch the game reveal like 2 or 3 times. Usually I'll watch it once and I'll be like, all right, I think I got it, and then I'll watch it again and like kind of test myself. And if it's a hard game, I'll watch it like 3 times. I watched this one like 5 times. There are so many different points. The ways you score them is so weird. I mean, you've got these like weird massive cactus things that have like pins sticking out all over the place. You've got the stacks, and it matters if they're in a goal or if they're not. And then the beams, I thought there were like these weird wild cards that were super hard to understand. And then I discovered a really cool trick that I'm going to share with you guys tonight to understand how the beams score. But man, this is like, in my opinion, it is the most complicated game that Vex has ever released for Vex IQ. And it also has it's got a lot of moving components. So what I want to do is first, I'm going to cover some details about kind of how the game works. And a lot of you guys are going to be like, Ben, I already know this. And that's awesome. This will be a good chance for you to test yourself. If you're like, Ben, I'm not so sure, then this will also be a bit of a learning opportunity. I remember I was running this tournament not that long ago, and his team showed up, and they were actually pretty good. I remember looking at the robot, I was like, they're probably not going to win, but I bet this team will do quite well for themselves. And they ranked either dead last or almost dead last. And I was like, well, what happened? So I'm running the tournament. I usually have an announcer for my matches, so I'm thinking back. I'm like, this team should have done better. And, I'm looking at them, like, packing up their robot because they didn't make it to finals. I'm like, what went wrong? And then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute. I know exactly what went wrong. They didn't understand the rules. They were doing a lot of things. If you remember last year, basically, you got points every time you ran across the field, passed the ball, and scored it in the goal. This team didn't understand what passing was about. And instead, they were running back and forth across the field, trying to score as many points as they possibly could, and didn't realize how important passing was. And so as a result, they ended up with like no points. They got like 5, 10 points, whereas this like basic robot that was built from instructions shows up and he scores like, I don't know, 13 points in a single shot, whereas this guy had to score 13 balls in order to get the same level this guy got in 1. And it's just because they didn't understand how the scoring worked. And this year more than ever, if you don't understand how the scoring works, you are cooked. I mean, like here. So this is a pin, and here we go. Say that. Oh dear, it's falling. That's one of the challenges with this year also. The pins just fall over like crazy. But say that you go around the field and you make a bunch of these because you say, hey, I look at the field, there's a ton of like these orange pins. You make a bunch of these, you're going to get like no points. If you know what you're doing, though, and instead of making those, you start making these. It's not any hard. Actually, it is a little harder because the pins are like on opposite sides of the field. But as long as you're making something like this, you get, instead of 3 points, you're getting 28 points as long as you know where to score this thing. Now, as you're building this, if you build it like this, you'll find yourself much more limited. And we'll talk about exactly why in a minute, but it's basically because blue's on the bottom, so you have to score that in blue goal. And those are harder than the yellow goals. So there's a bunch of details that I want to cover. And hopefully I've convinced you that like understanding the scoring is important and understanding how things are going to work is important. So I'm going to play the game animation, basically. I think it's the best way to review it. And then we're going to get a little interactive. So as we're watching the game animation, here's what I want you to be looking for. I do this with all my teams for reference. This is how I start every single thing. Here's what I want you to be looking for. I'm going to play a video. It's about 2 minutes long. And I want you to be looking, number 1, how do you score points? And number 2, what are each of those scores? And then number 3, what are the common scoring structures, we call them? So basically, this is a common scoring structure. It's a structure made of 3 pins. How many points is this worth? It's worth 18 or 28, a little bit of a spoiler. You're like, all right, well, what other scoring structures do you have? Maybe this is one. This seems like something common. I'll let you guys kind of figure out the rest of them as we go through the video. There's about 3 or 4 that are pretty common this year. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. That way you guys can see this video. I'm going to play it real quick, and then we are going to dive into what exactly does scoring look like for this game. Here we go. All right, so that's it. That's all that we need to watch the game animation. The rest of it's not that important. But I want to share with you, basically, anytime I look at a game animation, there's a few things. The first one is exactly what I told you guys to look for, which is scoring. We're going to talk about scoring in just a sec. The second thing that I always will check out is key limitations and exceptions. They didn't cover any of those in game animation. That's why I didn't tell you to look for them. We'll talk about those. And then we'll talk about ways that teams are going to get disqualified. Again, not covered in the game animation. We'll talk about them, but don't worry about it. And with that, sometimes I'll hit field geometry. But here is my first question. How do you score points? So I want you guys to go ahead, there we go. Go ahead, open the chat up, and go to drop in the chat, how do you score points? No, not just the name of the thing. You're like, stacking pins. Yes, that's true. But how many points is that worth? And if you can, go ahead and talk about those key scoring structures. How many points is it worth if you make a 3-color stack? How about if you score that in the zone? So go ahead, open the chat. It should be open now. If it's not, go and give me a thumbs down. But you should be able to open chat. Go ahead and type in. Aha, there we go. We got some messages. Yes, stacking pins and beams is how you get points. But how many points? Every stacked pin is worth 1 point. Good. But what about the multicolor? Yes, there we go. It's, if you get the matching color bonus, this thing's worth 28 points. Very good. What other things do we have? What about that, like, ultimate cactus thing you can build? This one where, you know, you get all the crazy pins going everywhere. How many points is that worth? Very good. This one's worth 91 points. It's 121 if you get it on the standoff. Here's a kind of not quite so popular one. What if you take this and put it on the stand? Oops, sorry. You take this and you put it on the standoff. How many points is that worth? Good. I think someone saw it. It was 38. Very nice. Good work. All right. So that's basically the key is, as we're scoring, this game, most games you can just say, all right, a ball's 1 point. You know, a pass is 12 points. That's easy. This game is complicated enough. We like to analyze it. Instead of looking at individual, like, scoring things, we analyze it in terms of these structures. We say, all right, basically, I could build this thing. This is worth 28 points, assuming I put it in the right spot. I could build this thing. This thing is worth 91 points, as long as I put it in the right spot. And when we come to robot design, that's going to be really important. So I wanted to make sure you guys have that down. Awesome. It looks like you guys are doing awesome. I think you guys got this nailed. Now, go ahead and throw in the chat. We're going to move on to our next session. We just said scoring. How about key limitation? Oh, wait. I forgot to show you guys this. This was a huge revelation for me. So, just a few kind of clarifications on what things mean. These guys are all stacked, right? You'd agree these things are stacked in the goal, or that's pretty good. If you have these things, none of these are stacked. What's wrong with each of them? What do you guys think? This one's pretty obvious, right? These are stacked, that's fine. But the beam, you see how it's tilted? This one, obviously, nothing's stacked. The whole thing's sideways. This one, everything is stacked, but do you see how the stack is upside down? So it's not going to count as being in the beam, which is going to kill a bunch of points. Obviously, it is still worth some points, but it's worth significantly less because of that. One other thing. This one I didn't have a picture of, but I totally meant to. If you just make this and you put it on the field, it's going to sit like this. Is this stacked? No, it's not. Why? What do you guys see? Do you see how the pins are, like, not quite fully in here? There's a little gap there. So that means that this doesn't count as stacked. If they were fully flat, then it would, and there's actually a weird hack that no one's going to do. But if you do it by accident, it's kind of funny. If you take this and you put it on that beam that's the starting zone, the loading zone, I'm sorry. You take this, you put it on the loading zone beam, then it gives it just enough clearance underneath that these guys can fully nest and they're considered stacked. So, fun fact that you should not use. There's way better ways to score points than that. If you do this, you're chilling. But just so you know, that, like, flat thing on the floor, if you went to my camp, we did actually count this as scored because we counted a lot of things as scored that weren't really scored. But we wanted to give you guys a nice, easy start to the season. One or another, that's not considered scored. All right, other things. How many pins can you fit in each goal? There are 3 goals. Go ahead and type it in the chat. How many pins fit in each goal? 3 for the triangle goals, yes. What about the square goal in the center? I see some 1s. Oh, there we go. I saw some of them. 4, good. You can fit 4 plus 1. Here you go, look. So you've got 1 in the corner, right? These are the easiest goals. Sorry, the middle one's the easiest goal. You can fit 4 plus 1, so 4 on the bottom, 1 on the top. Fit 3 in this goal, and then fit 1 in this goal. So that's just something you have to know. If you get more in here somehow, that's cool. Congrats on being creative, but no. And then, this is hilarious. So you remember in the game animation how it said beams are wild, and it has this crazy picture, and the first time I saw this, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a horrible game to score because I'm going to have to be looking at a beam and I'll like be visualizing, like, because I do a lot of scoring for these, like I act as a referee often, and so I'll be looking at this and I'm like gonna have to visualize like this part of the beam is red and this part of the beam is yellow and this part of the beam is red, and like that's gonna be so hard, and how am I ever gonna do that? And then I had a revelation. Instead of your beams being wild and multicolored, guess what? Your beams are gray. And it sounds so basic. It took me so long to figure it out. But look at this. This is like your beam is wild. It's a 3-color stack. Now imagine I just told you the beam was gray. So you go to score that same stack. Here, I've gone ahead and I've built that stack for you right here. I've almost built it. I'm working on finishing it. There we go. I finished building the stack. Check this out. I've got 3 stacks here, right? This is a red, a yellow, and a gray. 3 colors, isn't it? Here, we've got a yellow, a red, and a gray. Hey, that's also 3 colors. Here we go. We got a yellow, a blue, and a gray. They're all 3-color stacks still. You don't have to worry about thinking about the beam in this weird multicolored fashion. Some people are like, that multicolored fashion made sense to me, Ben. Why did you have to change it? That's fine. If it made sense, then go for it. For me, it didn't make any sense. The beams look a whole lot more gray to me than they do like other colors, so I figured, why don't I just think of them as gray? That all of the scoring works exactly the same. It's just a way easier way to think of them. Sweet. All right, key limitations and exceptions. Basically, key things this year, what that means is like, what is going to constrain your robot? The main things is size box. So what is size box this year? And then if there's any limits, this year there aren't any. But like say that they said you can carry 1 pin at a time. That would be a key limitation. So what's size box this year? Quick, type it in the box. It's different from last year. What is size box this year? What do you guys think? Very good. I see. We got it. Nice. 11 by 20 by 15. Is that limited the entire match, or does it change once the match starts? Very good. It does change. It changes to 11 by 20 by unlimited. There was somewhere 23 was being thrown around, like just in Vex. That's gone now. It's 11 by 20 by unlimited. You can go as tall as you want once the match starts. Sweet. Are there any other like exceptions? I don't think so. That seems pretty reasonable. We'll see if there's anything else later. Cool. All right. Why do you think people are going to get DQ'd? The classic answer is cheating. Yes, if you cheat, you will be DQ'd. And we're going to skip all the, like, students didn't build the robots, but, like, you're playing a match. We're assuming that you're a student, you're building your own robot. Why will you get DQ'd? Most likely. What do you guys think? Type it in the chat. Oh, yes, they got rid of 3D printed license plates. Someone shows up with a 3D printed license plate. Hopefully that's not a DQ. Hopefully you just fail inspection. Yes, obviously cheating. Using grease, yeah, sure. Incorrect loading, I think that is possible. They give you a lot of warnings before they DQ you on loading, though, so I'm hoping that that kind of helps fix it. Breaking the rules, yes, indeed. Using non-Vex pieces, I hope not. That can get you, like, not just disqualified, but, like, kicked out of the entire event. Not switching drivers, that's always a classic one. Realistically, I think the most common one is going to be the same as it usually is. It's going to be if you don't show up to your match. The other thing that I think is really going to hit teams, and this might apply to you, you might be like, Ben, I'm totally chill, but it's if you only have a 2-person team. Because if I have a 2-person team, guess what the problem is? When it's time to go load, the way the Vex rules are written, you're actually not allowed to have one, like the driver who's not driving load. So like I've got one driver, they drive, they hand off the controller to the other driver, they drive. The person who's not driving is not allowed to act as the loader. If you don't have 3 people, you are not allowed to put your pins in. Now, here's the big catch. If I am the red team and I cannot put my pins in, that means there is a total of 3 red pins. Realistically, only 1 red pin is, or sorry, 2 red pins are going to be usable in the entire match. That means I can only make 2 of these stacks. So if you don't have a loader, you're about to be in a bit of a pickle. Many of the best teams this year are bringing not 3, but 4 people to tournaments. That way, there's a rule that says you're allowed to kind of help out other teams sometimes. And one way that often you can help out is by, say, you get to finals and your partner doesn't have a loader, you could have your 4th teammate go over and help be a loader. And it doesn't have to be a very high-skilled person. It could be like someone's brother who's never done robots, but they decided to show up at the tournament because they thought it was cool. That's fine. They can act as a loader, but they need to, you need to have someone there. So just be aware if you're running into, if you think you might have issues with 2 people teams, that's certainly a thing this year. Sweet. All right. I think that's it. Let's go ahead. Did I hit all of them? Oh, field geometry. We don't need to talk about that. Basically, the question was, how tall does your robot have to be in order to make a 3-pin stack? And the key is, you do not, this is less than 15 inches. Matched size box is like yay up here, so I've got this. Size box is about up here. It's pretty easy to make these stacks with a robot that doesn't expand at all. Sweet. So let's go and talk about designing robots. Whenever it is time to design a robot, there's 2 key things you have to look at. The first is, where are you now? And the second is, where do you want to go? It's like, say that I want to come to your house and I'm like, hey, we've been talking for a while. I'd love to come hang out, build robots with you. And you're like, awesome, I'd love to hang out too. That's not enough to make us hang out. I have to get some key information from you. First, I am going to need to know where your house is. And so that's going to be what we call a robot goal. This is the kind of robot we want to make. And then the second thing I'm going to have to know is where I am. It's a very different journey to your house if you're in Cincinnati and I am in Kansas City. It's going to be quite a drive, whereas if we're both in Cincinnati, then we're chilling and I'll get there in no time. So basically what we do is we are going to go ahead and start by designing something called robot goals. Basically, the idea is you need to decide where on earth you want your robot to go. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes in a sec to I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to pick out your robot goals. Before we do, I want to share with you guys some cool robots, and then I want to share with you guys probably some of my favorite robot goals just over the years. So why do we start with a goal in the first place, I guess, is kind of a good question. Why not just start building? Oftentimes, I'll go through this, whole goal-setting thing, and it's like, all right, I'm trying to design a robot to do X, Y, Z. Someone else is like, I'm trying to design a robot to do this. And you're like, can't we just start building the thing? And realistically, yes, I would love to start building robots. But the reason I start with goals is because if you don't have a plan with what you want things to look like, you're going to end up with something really fascinating, but it's almost certainly not going to be what you're looking for. I remember me and Joseph went up to San Francisco together, and we were like, we should have a trip together. We hadn't gone on a trip just for fun together. We'd gone on lots of robot trips, but we haven't gone on a trip just for fun together, just the 2 of us, and probably forever. And so we were like, hey, why don't we just get together? We're gonna go on a trip. We're gonna have a great time together. And so we do. We go up to San Francisco. We're like, there's tons of cool things in San Francisco. We're gonna not plan anything, and we're just gonna have an awesome trip. And we show up in San Francisco, we check into our hotel, we get ourselves dinner, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And we're like, well, we didn't plan. We figured we would just, kind of figure out and do things that seemed fun. And we're like, well, what seems fun? I didn't do any research. Did you do any research? Well, I don't know, Chinatown seems cool. And we had no idea what to do. And so that night we kind of hung around, we did some fun things, we talked to some people, and then we were like, all right, tell you what. We got to figure out what we want this trip to look like. We don't have to plan detail by detail everything we want, but we do need to, at a high level, figure out what on earth do we want it to be. Do I really like looking at conservatories and gardens? Would I much rather go to art museums? Do I want to go to arcades? Do I want to go taste all the wonderful food? Do I want to go check out different cultures? I don't know. What do I want to do? And so what we did is we got together and we said, all right, actually, something that would be really fun is, we're both in college, but the arcades are so fun. We love playing pinball. And so that's our secret hobby. So we're like, we are going to check out all the pinball machines we can. And then art museums aren't really our thing, but science museums were so cool. So we're like, all right, we're going to go to science museums. We're going to play arcades. And then for food, We need to eat. We're not like food connoisseurs, but we are college students. And if you've ever had a college guy like around you, you know they eat an incredible amount. So both of us need to eat a ton. And so we're like, you know what we should do? We should see if we can find an all-you-can-eat buffet. And so we were looking around and we were like, wait a minute. You know, both of us like sushi. Do you think we would find an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant? And we did. And we had the most amazing sushi dinner you could imagine. We spent our entire day playing arcades. If you've been to San Francisco, you know there's these cards called Waymos. They're these robotic cars, no driver. Some people are like, no, I could never do this. But Joseph and I, we love robots. And so we're like, of course we're going to get a robotic taxi that has no driver. And it's a fully self-driving car. If you've seen Teslas try and self-drive, they got nothing on these cars. These cars are so good. It was kind of creepy how human they looked. But one way or another, we like drove these cars all around. We had our electric scooters. We were riding around. We hit all the arcades. We hit all the like restaurants that let you eat as much food as possible. We liked ice cream shops because why not? So we tried out like all of the best ice cream shops in the area. It was awesome. And so basically the point is, initially we had no idea what we wanted our trip to look like. But once we gave it a little structure, we were like, all right, we want lots of food and we want arcades and science museums. And then our trip was so much more fun, and really, we had an awesome time. We were like, we got to do it again this year. So, the reason I told you the whole story is because I want to explain to you why we set robot goals. Why do we decide this is the kind of robot I want to build? And you don't have to have all the details, but you say, all right, this is high level, like what we want the robot to look like. So here's how it works. Basically, what we do is we say this, like, here, let me just give you some examples of robot goals. This is kind of what I want my robot to look like. Here is just some real simple ones that I like. Maybe you want a simple high-scoring robot. You want to build your robot, you want it to be done within a month, and you want it to score like quite a few points. Boom. Maybe you want to win a local tournament. You're like, I've never gotten to States before, maybe I want to go to States. Maybe you have some other goals. Maybe you want to just have fun. Maybe you say, I want to build something that looks super cool. I remember there was this one team, Spartan Robotics. They built the coolest looking robots ever. Were they really functional? Not really. I'm trying to think if they've ever won Worlds. But one way or another, they were some of the coolest looking robots, and every year I couldn't wait to see them because they would build like the most wild robots you could ever imagine. They were 3 or 4 years ahead of like everyone else's technology. And so their robots were so cool. They were never really good, but they were like the coolest robots. Their goal was just to build cool stuff. I was on a team. Our goal was always to win Worlds. Where's that one? There it is. Win the Vex World Championship. Awesome. If that's your goal and you're at a point to do that, that's awesome. If it's your first year, you will not win the World Championship. Like, that's just how it works. Maybe you just want a simple high-scoring robot for your first year. Maybe you want to win a local tournament. That's totally doable. So I'm going to give you guys probably about 1 minute. Go ahead, type in the chat. Tell me, what goal do you want to have this year? And if you're like, I don't know, I want 10. Type all 10. Maybe you say, I don't know. Go in and think about it for a minute. Figure out what kind of robot. And it doesn't have to be perfect. People get so tight about this, and they're like, what if I typed the wrong words? Then you'll change it. You'd much rather be running towards something that's almost right than be running towards nothing. It's like if I know that you live in Chicago, but I don't know what street you're on, I can at least drive to Chicago, and then eventually, once I get to Chicago, I'll kind of figure it out. That's how we do this. We want to have fun, get to States. I want to win a local tournament. I want to... Did I say win the World Championship? I want to get to Worlds again this year. Getting to Worlds is no small feat for anyone who's done. Well, I want to score at least 100 points. I want to use pneumatics. I want to learn how to use pneumatics. That's awesome. I want to make a robot that looks super sick. All awesome goals. All right, so I am going to pick probably my 2 favorite goals of the ones that you guys have. You guys all came up with fantastic ones, or most of you guys did. I'm going to go and show you guys my favorite 2. Or not my favorite 2. My favorite one's obviously winning Worlds. But I'm going to show you guys some of the goals that I often use. And I'm going to design a robot that's a simple high-scoring robot. And then I'm also going to design a robot that'll win a local tournament. I'm going to kind of walk you guys through the process that I would use to do this. As I'm looking at these, I'm seeing both of these are point goals. Basically, I have to score a certain number of points in matches. I have to score more points than anyone else, basically, in matches. If I want to make a simple high-scoring robot, it's about scoring points. If it's, I want to win a local tournament, it's going to be about scoring points. Now, in order to do that, let's real quick review how we score points. Best ways to score points. It's pretty obvious. You've got to get those multicolored stacks, right? If I go around trying to do this, I'm not going to have a very high scoring robot. This is 3 points. Compare that to something like this. This is going to be 28 points. There is a video online that explains about the max score for the turn or for the entire thing, and it's like you should make 2 pin stacks. Don't worry about that. That's at a very high level of play. I'm trying to make a simple high scoring robot. I am not going to be anywhere close to maxing out the field. So I can tell you just mathematically, this is the stack that's going to be most effective, specifically with the yellow on the bottom, so I can put it in that yellow zone. So this is going to probably be my ticket, I'm thinking. The other thing, with the beams and stuff, that seems very doable, and this is very high scoring, especially when you start putting these guys on top upside down. This doesn't seem like it's going to fit in the realm of a simple high scoring robot, though, is kind of my thought. So just based on kind of, feelings and what seems easy, I'm like, all right, making a robot that does this looks really hard because I have to make a bunch of 2-pin stacks. I have to take some of these stacks, flip them upside down, score them in a beam. Maybe I say I want something a little easier. So how I do this is the first thing I'll do is I'll write out a list of everything the robot could possibly do. Basically, the idea is, say that I've got a robot and I'm like, all right, I like the idea. I like being able to make 3-pin stacks. I like being able to pick up pins. I like being able to stack them. What do I actually want my robot to do? And I could try and write out a list of all the things I want it to do. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and write out a list of everything it could do. And I am going to go ahead and once again ask for you guys' input on this. What are all of the things that a robot can do? Go ahead and type it in chat. What are the things that a robot, what are the things that a robot can do? I'm going to go ahead and type with you guys, and you guys should be able to see it on my screen if I do this correctly. There we go. Drive. Good. Someone's been to this meeting before. The most important thing your robot can do is drive. Awesome. What else? Stack pins. Yes, absolutely. Actually, before stack pins, I saw someone put it. Pick up pins. If you can't pick up pins, how useful is stacking? Not very useful at all. Move pins. Move pins, I guess. I'm going to say stack pins in 3-pin stacks. What else? Ooh, I saw, yes, beams. So lift beams. Score pins upside down on beams. Oh, starting pins, yes. Very good. Ooh, question. What about scoring? Yeah, sure, turning. We'll put that under drive. We'll do drive and turn. Ooh, standoff. Very good. So cactus, here I'll say this is the cactus. Standoff goal. Ooh, what about the goals? I saw that. So score and floor goals. And then also score, so floor and square goals are going to be the same mechanism. So I'm going to say, and then also score and triangle. Yes, we'll do autonomous later. That's not really robot design stuff. Elevator is more like specific to the robot. I know some of you guys are saying elevators. Yes, that's going to be probably under the pickup pins thing, or make stacks. I don't know which one it's going to be. Technically, I guess we could add a 2-pin stack here, but that's probably not helpful, so we won't do that. Sweet. All right, that feels pretty good. Actually, that seems pretty similar to what I have. Oh, I did put 2-pin stacks on. So basically what I'll do is I'll take this list and I'll say, this is awesome, good work, but what do I actually want the robot to do? Because a robot that can do all of this is like pretty intense. So instead what I'll say is, all right, I want a robot that is gonna, be a simple high scoring robot. Maybe I'm just gonna make a robot that can drive around, pick up pins, and make triple stacks. And so I've got a robot, I'm making these triple stacks. That seems pretty good. So I've got a robot, it can drive around, it can make triple stacks, and it can score them in the goal. We'll just say it can score in the floor and square goals. We're going to skip the triangle goals for now because that seems hard. If I want to make a robot that does that, basically here's what I will do. I take a piece of paper like this, and I'm going to go ahead and draw you guys some of my favorite robots. Some of you guys might recognize these robots. But the reason I draw my robots is because it just kind of helps show kind of what it is. So I'm going to go and draw them, and then I'm going to let you guys have a chance to draw, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to share if you guys feel like you drew something good. So here's my desk. This is where I'm going to be drawing. And these robots, I'm no artist, by the way, so these robots are going to look extra hacky. Here we go. So I will have a beautiful robot right there. Wonderful. And I want to be able to pick up the pins. Here's like the easiest way to pick up pins. I am going to go ahead and like have a claw. And then my pins, oh, come on. There we go. All right, we're trying to pick up pins, and it looks like, you know, with this robot, I could easily make like a triple stack of pins. So this robot actually fits all my criteria. Now, is this the best robot? Probably not. But I think I could draw something better. Instead of just being able to pick up one pin at a time and like stack it on top of here, I'm going to make a robot. Oops, I forgot the wheels. That's got like a multi-claw. There we go. Or maybe a multi-claw is kind of excessive. There we go. But basically the idea is I want it to be able to hold pins. I want it to be able to hold a stack of pins. Oops. This is atrocious looking, isn't it? There we go. I want to be able to hold an entire stack of pins. That way I can just drive around with all the pins. This is a goofy robot. This is a robot called Sandstorm from like 5 years ago. But maybe some of you guys will be like, hey, I remember that guy. Check this out. So I've got one claw up top. You put a pin in there. I want to build this robot. I think it's a horrible robot, but I want to build it just because it looks cool. Got an arm in the middle. It holds another pin. And then you've got this little tiny arm on the bottom that's just a claw that grabs the third pin. And then you just hit one button and they go cha-choom, and it just makes this beautiful triple stack. So that robot I don't like. This doesn't really seem to fit in the simple realm. 3 arms seems really hard to draw. Yeah, maybe you have a robot, if you've seen Pinhead. Here's a real simple robot where we go like this. And then I've kind of got like a bucket for the pins. And the pins are going to go ahead and just stack up themselves in here. And then over here, I'm just going to have some wheels on here. And they're going to go ahead and suck up the pins like that. So those are some robot ideas. I'm going to go ahead and continue drawing. I want to give you guys a chance to draw. So if you don't have pencil and paper, go ahead and grab some. I drew mine in Sharpie. I love drawing them in pencil usually, though, because it means that when you make mistakes, you can fix them, unlike what I did over here. So go ahead, take a few minutes. I'm going to continue drawing. So if you're like, I have no idea what to draw then, that's totally fine. Just go and watch me and get some ideas. I'm going to keep drawing, though. I've got some more ideas that I want to get down, and then I'll tell you guys about them probably in a few minutes. So go ahead, draw for about 2 minutes, and draw as many robot designs as you can. Just go fast, and then we will regroup in a few minutes to talk about these robots. And if you have a cool one, let me know, because I would love to see what you've got. All right. So my guess is some of you guys have some robots that I would love to have you guys share with me. Let me tell you a little bit about what I built and some of the robots I designed. I don't know if I designed any that I really like. These guys I kind of already talked you through. I kind of like this one. This one seems pretty easy. This one also seems good. I like Pinhead. Maybe kind of modified version of Pinhead, which is this robot, where basically instead of having to like set it down on top of each pin, you just drive into it. And so that's kind of what this diagonal line is supposed to represent. It kind of like sucks it in. I don't know entirely how that's going to work, but that seems cool. Here I've got, this is a classic backlash robot where basically you pick up the pins, they just slide up here. This is kind of like a conveyor. They're like, whoa, that's a massive pin. But it just goes up like that, and then it goes there. This robot is kind of a cute one. Basically, it picks up one pin at a time in this system, and then it like just makes a stack up here, and then it drops it down. This seems hard to build, just given what I've tried to build already, but those are kind of my initial thoughts. I'm going to have some more thoughts in a minute, probably. But honestly, kind of the robot, just to be goofy, that I want to build is this robot. We'll talk a little bit more about what that... maybe you guys will see a video of that one in the future. Maybe you won't. It depends how well it goes. But if you have a robot you want to share, go ahead and raise your hand. I see Sophia already has, so I would love to kind of see what you've got here. Yes. Hang on. Oh, there we go. I see Sophia's. Beautiful. It looks like you've got a beautiful robot. My guess is this is something of a revolver robot. These are basically robots that are designed to be able to pick up like tons and tons of different, a ton of pins and then like kind of spin them around. See, if you want to show your picture, go ahead and hold it up, and then I'm just gonna like put some of them on. I see Havisha's got one. We've got, oh, this looks like quite an interesting robot. Looks like we've got a bit of a mechanism on the bottom that's going to be able to intake the pins. And, oh, wow. I'm not entirely sure I see what everything does, but it looks, my guess is you do, and I'm sure if you talked me through it, it would be awesome. Aha, a classic 180 robot. I was going to show this one later. Here's another one of those. But these guys are awesome robots. Basically, they have the ability to stack on the beam, so we'll address those in just a minute. Aha, here's a backlash. Oh, I saw it a second ago. There we go. This robot, pretty similar. Oh, that's beautiful. That's okay. You're getting some fun camera stuff going on. But there we go. Point is, you guys all, I think, over the course of like 3 minutes, designed a bunch of robots, and there's a bunch that I just saw that I wasn't able to show. But the point is, you guys all designed a ton of robots. I'm going to go and show you guys a few more that I like, and I'm also going to show you guys how to build them if we have time. But that's the idea. The idea is you get some stuff together, and then you say, all right, I'm going to go and draw it. You draw 4 or 5 of them. Sometimes you draw them, and you realize, like, hang on a sec, this is, like, not going to work. And so when you discover that, then you're able to fix it, like, before you even start building, because you just spent 10 minutes or 10 seconds drawing it, and you've got, like, a drawing that you discovered didn't work, and now you can go ahead and fix that. So let's go ahead and talk about some more advanced robots. Basically, you got a simple robot. You're probably building something with an arm and a claw, or maybe you're building something like Pinhead, where your claw like has kind of wheels on it to make it easier. Say you want something more advanced. Now I told you guys I want a simple high-scoring robot. I want to win a local tournament. Maybe not in SoCal, but maybe I want to win a local tournament somewhere. How am I going to do it? I have a few choices. I could most likely build a robot that does the cactus thing that a lot of you guys were showing with a robot, the 180 mech robots, the ones that build this thing. This would probably help me win a local tournament. If I could build 2 of these in every match, probably I'm doing very, very well for myself. Additionally, though, I could just probably rely on 3-pin stacks. And this is just a numbers game. But if you build 3-pin stacks and you score every single one that you can on the goal, so 6 3-pin stacks on a goal, it is not as many points, but it is almost as many points as building 2 of those cactus things with this beam. So you can either build 6 of these or you can build 2 of those cactuses. Which one's easier? I don't know. They're both really hard to do in a minute. Realistically, I think the cactus is probably a little easier, but maybe you'll find your robot's easier to build if all you have to do is build a bunch of these, and now you don't have to worry about flipping stacks upside down and stuff. So I would say if I'm building one of these, either I have to be really, really fast at building these 3-pin stacks, or maybe I have to be really fast at building these guys. So I kind of took this robot in 2 different directions, and so you're going to see that as I go ahead and draw this. But I have 2 options for robots. I could either build a robot that can do all of this stuff. Basically, this is effectively saying make those 3-pin stacks, but then also be able to make the cactuses. Or I could make a robot that can do only these 3-pin stacks. That's all this is saying. Drive, pick up pins, make 3-pin stacks, and just be faster. Be the fastest at my tournament at it, and I will likely win. I might not be the best team. I might be paired with the best team, though, and come home still victorious because the top 2 teams win. And so, again, it depends on where you are. But honestly, like being really good at making 3-pin stacks is probably going to win a lot of tournaments. Not necessarily all of them, though. So, because I drew a bunch of 3-pin robots, I'm going to go ahead and draw a few of these robots, the ones that are able to make the cactus. I'm only probably going to get a few of these down because these are like actually quite hard. And especially if you want to be fast enough to be any good with them. They're monsters. So, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and draw. And then I'm going to talk you through my drawings afterward. And I want, while I'm drawing it, go ahead and draw some of your own robots. If you're like, Ben, I don't want to win a local tournament. I just want to do that, 3-pin stack. Go ahead and draw a few more of those. Otherwise, you can track along with me and be like, hey, what on earth is Ben drawing? So this is the classic robot. I'm just going to draw it real quick. And then there's some more ones that I want to show you. That's why we use pencil. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call you guys back. I'm sure you guys are drawing some awesome robots. I'm going to show you guys my robots, and then I'm going to give you guys a chance to kind of share your own robots. Man, this is a hard problem to solve. So basically, the idea is you want to throw the pins in the back of your robot. My guess is whoever solves this well is going to design what we call a meta robot, the robot that's like probably best. This is the classic way to do it. So basically what you have if you got this arm and it flips around, and when it flips over your head, it like throws the pins in the beam. That's awesome. Here's like a wildly bigger version of that robot. The main challenge with this robot is it's really hard to drive, and it can't stack, it has trouble stacking the beam on the standoff, and it's just really hard to build because everything is so tight in here. So if you make this arm shape, you can see how it like flips over this way instead. That's interesting. And then now my beam can be a little bit taller, and maybe I have a little bit more room in here to build stuff. This also can certainly score itself on the standoff goal, which is kind of cool. Maybe that's going to be helpful. Not entirely sure. Here's another one. This one's a little bit wild, but basically it's got this thing on the front that's able to take, it stacks up 2 sets of pins, just like so. And this robot I've never built, so this is kind of, that's how drawing works. You don't know. But it can do this, and then the entire claw goes like that, and now it can stack it down into some kind of beam. Again, not so sure how well that one's going to work. I'm not loving it. I'm not loving many of these robots. Realistically, I want a robot that's easy to drive, that most of the stuff happens on the front of the robot. You don't have to manipulate 3 claws. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to share with you guys some of the other robots that people have up. I believe I saw, this one looks good. So, oops, there we go. So here it looks like, very similar. This is the exact kind of robot we were just talking about, where it's able to flip itself over. It looks like it might, yeah. No, it's very similar. Here, this is another great example of it. It looks like almost everyone ended up with the, oh, that's a different kind of robot. I'm very interested to see how that one works. Here, let's do that. There we go. It looks like you've got a beam that is held in the center. You build the entire stack sideways over your head, and then you set it down. That looks really creative. Here we've got a robot that is out of focus. Maybe if you move back and forth a little, that'll help. Oh, there we go. Now I see it, kind of. It looks like it's got a claw on the front that's able to pick up a pin, and it's got something with beams in the back. I can't quite tell. Here is, a revolver robot. These guys are classics. These guys are mainly focused on trying to get as many pins as possible. Kind of playing around with that idea. I see lots of, here we go. I'm not sure what this one is. This looks exciting. It looks like it kind of vacuums up the pins in the back here, and then it's able to throw them through the robot and spit them out kind of this other end. Overall, it looks like lots and lots of awesome robots. And here's one. We'll get one more. That looks very similar to a HeroBot. It's basically got an elevator in the front, and it's able to, almost, maybe other way. Yeah, there you go. You had it. And it's able to pick up and make stacks. It looks like that's a HeroBot. Very nice. All right, well, good work, all you guys. You guys have designed some awesome robots. What we're going to do next is I want to go ahead and show you guys some of my robots that I've been building, specifically because I went through this process a little while ago, and I figure, hey, while we're at it, why don't I go ahead and just show you guys? And then we'll move into Q&A in just a minute. I'd love to answer any and all questions you guys have. So, should I show you guys my robots first? I'll show you guys my robots in a minute. And I also have some videos of old robots that I want to show you. These are old robots that did really similar things. But first, I want to show you guys one other thing, and that is if you guys are like, hey, Ben, this is super helpful, but how on earth do I actually like build a robot? I really quick want to show you guys, I have another meeting we're doing in 1 week. It's technically part of this one was totally free, open to everyone. My next meeting is part of my robotics mastery program, but I want to give you guys a chance to join that for free. Half of you guys are probably already part of that. That's part of why you're here. You're like, Ben, this is awesome. That's fantastic. You guys are actually already registered for that. I'm going to send you guys the Zoom link probably after this meeting, probably in a few days. You won't need it until next Wednesday. But next Wednesday we will have another meeting where we're going to talk about everything that has to do with like how to actually build these guys. If you're like, Ben, this stuff's awesome and I want to learn more, just sent a link in the chat. Basically, the idea is I want to give you guys a chance to enroll in this stuff for free. I want you guys to come, try it out. I will show you guys. Here, just let me show you what I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to give you guys a quick preview. This is like totally out of order. Basically, say you decided to build this robot. You say, I want the simple high-scoring robot that we're making these triple stacks that we talked about earlier. I want to make tons of these, Ben. What do I do? And you decide that, you know, of all the robots we drew, the one that you want is you want that one that has like kind of a claw on the front. It's got an arm. It's got the ability to stack like 1 and then 2 and then grab a third one and it can go ahead and place it wherever. You say, Ben, that's the robot I want. I saw you draw a picture of it. I like it. Or maybe I drew my own picture of it. I like it. And then I want to go ahead and like build that. Basically, you say, we'll talk about, all right, how do you decide what it is? That's a drivetrain, a claw, and an arm you're going to need to build. And then I'll give you guys all of these resources. How on earth do you actually build a drivetrain? How do you build a claw? How do you build an arm? And this is like what I put on, this is how I teach. So usually when it's time to like build a drivetrain, I'll actually put this up. I remember I was teaching a class to, it was like 5 or 6 teams. And they needed to build drivetrains. And so I just threw this on the screen and boom, suddenly all the teams knew how to build drivetrains. It was super helpful. So from a coaching perspective, the resources that you get with this, it's not only the course, I'll give you guys all these downloads and stuff. They're so valuable. And then I had a bunch of teams who needed to build arms. So I just showed them this and they were like, boom, I got it. I know how to build an arm. And then I was like, all right, how do you build a claw? And there were 2 different claws they were looking at. And so these were the 2 claws. Maybe you're building something more advanced. You kind of want that conveyor robot, you know, backlash style. So basically you've got a robot. Here we go. I'll show you this guy real quick. You want a robot like this where you're like, hey, I want to be able to drive around. I want to be able to pick up these pins. Then I want to be able to stack them in the back. In that course, I show you, all right, well, first you'll need a drivetrain. That's easy. And then you'll probably need some kind of conveyor system. I'll show you how to build that. And then I'll also show you like what the thing is in the back. So if you're interested in joining me for that, there's a link that I just sent in the chat. Or you can email me and I'm happy to get you all hooked up with that. Oh, here, let me just show you the mechanisms. That way, if you're not coming, you can take a quick screenshot of this. But this is like basically what it looks like. Oh, I didn't include the magazine on this. But we'll talk about, we will cover the magazine system and like everything that you need there. Basically, this is kind of the core. This is how you start building this robot. You start with the drivetrain and you're going to be putting these things on, put the chain on and all that good stuff. Sweet. So I promised you guys some old robots and some new robots. I know some of you guys have to go, and I know some of you guys have questions, so I want to get to Q&A in just a sec. But here's what we're going to do. I want to show you guys the old robots. These guys are so fun. So basically, one of my specialties is I've been in robotics so long that if you pull up some random challenge, I'm immediately thinking, all right, wait a minute. Where have we seen this before? What looks like this? What feels like this? Where have we done this kind of robotics before? And so, where have we done it before? Basically, the triple stack thing. This came 5 years ago during COVID in a game called Rise Above. This is the video of the best kind of robot for Rise Above. This was the kind of robot that won the world championship. So here we go. Basically, the game pieces were much larger, so the approach is going to be different. But you can see how it works. It carries 1, it pushes 1 on the zone, and then it's able to, well, that's my old website, wow. It's able to lift 2 at a time. So very similar to those robots we've seen where they're able to lift an entire triple stack at a time. This triple stack was so huge it didn't make sense. But that kind of looks cool. So this might be a valid approach. And when this came out, this was like, this is the fastest robot. Like this robot was the one that won, or yeah, I think this was the one that won Worlds. Yeah, this was the year that this one won Worlds. Very good robot. This was a year, a long time ago, where we had to make stacks. This robot had to score way more than just 3 in a stack. It had to make like 10 color stacks. The difference is these were cubes. Cubes, if you ever have to stack them, they're actually quite easy to stack. And this robot does an awesome job of showing how that works. But you can see it real simple. You're stacking these guys nice and high. So will this be the solution this year? I don't know. But honestly, it looks pretty good. Maybe this could be a cool robot. Really good at stacking, and you could, maybe instead of just holding 1 in this back part, maybe this back piece could actually hold like 3 stacks. It could rotate somehow. That could be cool. And then he's gonna do the blue stack. You guys can imagine what that looks like. This is forever ago. So those conveyor robots, I could not, whoa, that thing's not muted. Let me go ahead and mute that. This is an old game where we were trying to pick up things off the floor, and there we go. This is a conveyor robot that I think is relatively similar to what we'll see this year in terms of its pickup mechanism. Rings were so much easier to pick up than pins because rings can never be sideways. They're always flat on the floor. If you try and put it sideways, it falls over. But if you look at, oops, my pointer's not on. If you look at this robot, though, you can kind of see how he picks up these rings. He just kind of runs into them with this conveyor he's got on the back. So I don't know. That could be helpful, too. Sweet. Yeah, and then I showed you guys everything else. Oh, I promised you guys I would show you some robots that I've built. This guy, all right. You remember how I told you I wanted a version of Pinhead that could drive and pick up pins like at the same time? So these rollers, this is how the robot is. This is a robot that I'm working on. Will it come out? I don't know. I don't know if this one's gonna be successful. This is how all my robots go. You like start building them, and then sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But you'll notice this robot, he spins, and as he drives around, if a pin is in front of him, it gets sucked up at a diagonal and then put into this storage container. And then, you know, the next pin comes in. The idea is this robot has all the advantages of a backlash, just kind of with the simplicity of Pinhead. So it's a little bit easier to build. It's a little harder than Pinhead. It's probably easier than backlash. Have I gotten it working yet? No, it doesn't work yet. It's kind of been a bit of a monster to try and get everything to spin together, and I don't know, I was working on some other robots and got more excited. But this is a robot that I'm in the middle of working on. Most of you guys have seen this robot. This one is probably my favorite robot so far, just because it's fun to drive. I've been working, some of you guys are curious if I've been working on a 180 robot, the one that flips over. Maybe. That one you'll have to see on YouTube. But this robot, I actually just got a higher score, and I'm going to go ahead and release it tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out tomorrow morning for another video of this robot. This is probably one of the simplest versions of this robot. I'll give you guys a few pointers on it, though. If you're building a robot that looks like this, you know, you're going to build the drivetrain, you're going to build the conveyors, and you're going to build this little cage in the back. This is kind of a cute way to open and close the cage. A lot of people have had like big arms that close and open. But look at that. It's so simple. It's so like small and easy. And now you don't have to worry about like these massive arms on the back of your robot. Instead, that's all you need to open and close it. So that's pretty clean. One of the keys is this has to be super steep. If you make this at a nice shallow, like this is probably about as shallow of an angle. If it's any less, these pins are going to go flipping all over the place. If you're having trouble flipping pins, go and make it steep. This, you'll notice here, if you look, I actually have a cutout in my drivetrain. So I built this drivetrain and I had to put a cutout in it in order to hold the pins. I tried to put the pins behind it back here before. Didn't work because this wasn't steep enough. It needed to be steeper. And so that meant that I had to have my stack of pins inside the drivetrain. It actually fit really nicely. And then here's kind of a pro tip, just thing to keep in the back of your pocket. You see that shaft across the bottom of the drivetrain? That one doesn't spin. Basically, my robot was having issues where the back of the robot would start to, I can't do it now because the shaft isn't there. It would start to bend like this. And so you just throw one metal shaft across the entire thing. Solves it. It's kind of cool, isn't it? So, if you're ever on YouTube and you're like, why on earth does he have a metal shaft across his robot? That's why. Kind of a fun bend lipper fact. Other than that, thank you guys all so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and close things down. I know you guys probably have more questions, so if I didn't get to your question, please email me. I want to make sure I answer any of all of your questions. I'm actually leaving on a backpacking trip early tomorrow morning, like when it's dark out still. So I have to finish packing and I have to get myself to bed. So I will see you guys all later. Have a wonderful rest of your evening or night, depending on what time zone you're in. I know some of you guys woke up early, so have an awesome day if it's actually Thursday morning for you and not Wednesday night. But thank you guys all so much for joining me. I love sharing robots with you, so thank you all, and I'll see you guys all again, hopefully next week. And if you have questions on that, feel free to just respond.